John Deere, the name once trusted by farmers worldwide, is now facing a shocking downfall. Once the hero of agriculture, this giant is losing ground as fast as frustrated farmers fight back against its restrictive repair policies. From skyrocketing costs to being locked out of their own equipment, the very people who kept John Deere at the top are turning their backs. How did a brand that stood for innovation and reliability become the farmer's worst enemy?
It's been nearly 200 years since John Deere fashioned a plow similar to this in his local blacksmith shop. It was a tool that revolutionized the world of his day, and a tool that still...
Back in 1837, a blacksmith named John Deere in Vermont invented something that would revolutionize agriculture: a steel plow. Before this invention, farmers struggled with sticky soil that clung to iron plows, making the process slow and frustrating. But Deere's steel plows sliced through the earth effortlessly, and farmers could work their fields faster and more efficiently. It was a game changer, and soon, word spread like wildfire. Farmers everywhere wanted this miracle tool, and the name John Deere started to become synonymous with innovation and dependability. Over the years, John Deere didn't just stick with plows. The company expanded its range to include tractors, harvesters, planters, and all kinds of machinery that became essential on farms. It was like giving farmers a superpower, enabling them to work smarter, not harder.
A cause called Farmers' Right to Repair, and testified for a law to give farmers the right to fix their own equipment. That's him with his tractor as a backdrop.
Deere became a trusted partner to those who put food on our tables. The company grew into a global leader, earning the respect of farmers for its high-quality machines and groundbreaking ideas. For decades, John Deere stood tall as a company that truly seemed to care about farmers, helping them overcome challenges and thrive. But here's where the story takes a twist. Somewhere along the way, things started to change. The company that was once a symbol of empowerment became a source of frustration for the very people who depended on it. The company started focusing on technology, which sounds great on the surface. Advanced tech means tractors and harvesters were getting smarter and more efficient. But here's the catch. That same technology also started locking farmers out of their own equipment. Instead of empowering farmers to fix their machines and get back to work quickly, Deere created a system where even basic repairs required their authorization. This shift wasn't just inconvenient, it was a complete change in the company's values. Farmers, who once relied on Deere to help them through tough times, now found themselves stuck. If a machine broke down during a crucial planting or harvesting window, they couldn't just grab a wrench and fix it. They had to call in a John Deere certified technician, wait for them to show up, and pay a hefty bill. Sometimes, the costs were so high that it felt like a punishment for simply owning the equipment. It wasn't just about the money either, it was about control. Farmers who had always taken pride in being self-reliant suddenly felt powerless. They began to question if they even truly owned their equipment anymore. It was like renting a house where the landlord wouldn't give you the keys to the front door. Over time, this frustration bubbled over, and farmers started to fight back. They weren't going to let the company that they had trusted for generations dictate how they could use their own tools. This brings us to the real battle, the right to repair movement. If you've ever had a piece of equipment break down and been told you can't fix it yourself, you'll understand why this issue hits so close to home for farmers. It's not just an inconvenience, it's a matter of survival. Farmers started organizing and reaching out to consumer rights groups and advocacy organizations to push for change. Their message was clear: if we own something, we should have the right to repair it, period. And you know what? They started making waves. In 2022, Colorado became the first state to pass laws specifically focused on the right to repair agricultural equipment. It was a huge victory, setting the stage for other states to follow. But the fight is far from over. John Deere isn't backing down easily. The company has poured millions into lobbying efforts to block similar laws in other states, arguing that opening up repair access could lead to safety risks or intellectual property theft. Farmers, on the other hand, see this as corporate fear-mongering, just another way to hold on to power and profits. It's a David versus Goliath kind of fight, with farmers taking on a giant corporation. But what's inspiring is how determined they are. They're not just fighting for the right to fix their tractors, they're fighting for their independence, their livelihoods, and their communities. It's a movement that's going to gain momentum, and it's shining a spotlight on the bigger issues of how corporations treat their customers.
To kind of pay for that inflationary levels. We have a lot of stuff to sell, and it's pretty high-priced stuff.
Like around 600.
Think of it like this. It's planting or harvesting season, those critical windows where every minute counts, and your tractor suddenly stops working. You know it's wrong, and you could fix it in no time if you had the tools or permission. But with John Deere's restrictive policies, farmers can't even make basic repairs. They're forced to call certified technicians, wait for them to show up, and then pay an enormous bill. Some farmers have shared stories of repair costs running into thousands of dollars for problems they could have fixed themselves for a fraction of the price. Delays in repairs can cost farmers entire crops, turning minor issues into financial disasters. Lost harvests ripple through the food supply chain, driving up prices and pushing small-scale farmers closer to bankruptcy. Some are even forced to abandon farming, a stark reminder of how restrictive policies hurt those who feed us all. While John Deere struggles with its reputation, its competitors are quietly stepping up. Farmers fed up with restrictive policies and high costs are turning to other brands. Companies like Kubota, CNH Industrial, and AGCO are becoming more appealing because they offer flexibility and treat farmers as partners, not customers to be controlled. Kubota, for example, has found a niche with compact, versatile tractors that smaller-scale farmers love. CNH Industrial, which owns brands like Case IH and New Holland, has focused on precision agriculture technologies that directly compete with Deere's offerings but without restrictive policies. Farmers are noticing these alternatives and making the switch.
Well, the John Deere has given three main reasons for its recent layoffs. They start with declining customer demand, rising costs, and economic uncertainties. And we certainly didn't have to go very far, even here locally.
John Deere, once a trusted name in farming, is now facing a shocking collapse. Restrictive repair policies and rising costs have pushed farmers, the backbone of its success, to turn away. How did a symbol of innovation become the farmer's biggest frustration? It's a classic act of a giant corporation losing touch with its customer base, opening the door for competitors to step in. As more farmers explore alternatives, Deere is being forced to reckon with the consequences of its actions. Whether it can recover from this remains to be seen, but the competitors aren't slowing down. The story about John Deere isn't just about one company's missteps. It's a reflection of a bigger issue in agriculture. The relationship between farmers and corporations have been eroding for years, and Deere's restrictive policies have only made it worse. Trust, once the foundation of this relationship, has been replaced by frustration and resentment. Farmers feel like they've been treated as cash cows rather than partners, and that sentiment is shaking the agricultural industry to its core. The economic and social impacts of this breakdown are massive. When farmers struggle, rural communities feel the effects. Local economies that rely on agriculture are hit hard when family farms can't stay afloat. Businesses that supply seeds, fertilizers, and other necessities suffer too. And then there's the bigger picture, our food supply. Delays in planting or harvesting due to equipment issues can lead to shortages, driving up prices for everybody. Inflation is already tough to deal with. Adding higher food prices to the mix, and it's a recipe for even more hardship. But it's not all doom and gloom. The situation has sparked a conversation about how we move forward. Farmers are demanding changes, and the right to repair movement is gaining traction. There's a growing push for corporations to balance innovation with the authority farmers need to succeed. If Deere and others can find a way to rebuild trust and shift their strategies, there's hope for a more sustainable future in agriculture. It's a critical moment, and the stakes couldn't be higher. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.